Hey class, in this video I'm going to go into Module 1 and start covering our first lesson on how to write a script. Alright, so this is part 1 of a 3-part series covering script writing and what is a script, what isn't a script, and some of the formatting issues there. And the first thing I want to do is ask and answer the question, what is a movie script? Because a movie script is a very, very specific thing. One way to look at it is it's the written thing from which a movie is made. So it's an incomplete art exhibit. You have to finish it up. You have to take that script and then make the movie out of it to complete the process. But the script stands alone once you've written it. In the words of a student, I forgot who it was a long time ago, but they said it's the blueprint of the film, which I think is a really good metaphor for it because making a film is definitely a building process. So I've got some nice little blueprints here, an A-frame, an Uzi, and also a Bell & Howell movie camera, all of which required blueprints in order to be made. And the blueprint is very much like a script in that everything you need in order to make one of these things is somewhere there on the blueprint. I'm not sure about the Uzi though. That looks a little too complex for that. So before we get into specifics, sorry, I keep itching my face. We want to talk about what a script isn't to begin with, because a lot of you have probably seen things that are kind of like scripts. So it's like, well, how different can it be? It can be a lot different. So we'll start with plays, because a lot of you have probably experienced plays when you were in high school or even younger. And a play is also something where you write it and then people act it out. But it's still very different. So formatting wise, it's a lot different. It's divided into acts. And if you look at this right now, yes, you have a person, he's doing something, and then he starts speaking, and someone else is speaking, but you got colons there and a bunch of weird ass italics and things that are in all caps and stuff like that. And it's just not the same. So there's scenes and actions and characters you speak, but that's where the similarities end. Also, a script is not a novel or any other conventional form of prose, and we'll talk about some of those very different things about it. But you look at this huge block of text, and we're inside this character's mind. He's by himself, having an interior monologue, and you can't really do that in a script. You can, but I'm not going to tell you how, because if you do, it'll be a terrible, terrible mistake. Just saying. So a script ends up looking like this. This is what a script looks like. This is from Michaela and the Multiverse, which is a group script that my students and I wrote together probably like 5 years ago. And in this, we have Uber Dr. Malcolm and Michaela confronting each other, and they're talking, there's action, there's description of what's happening in the scene, and then ultimately Michaela stabs Dr. Malcolm, Uber Dr. Malcolm. There are lots of Dr. Malcolms, but this is the Uber one, with a giant twisted crowbar and kicks him through a portal which explodes in a shower of black liquid. But this is what a script looks like, and that's what we're going to be covering in this class, is how to write things that look like this. They don't have to have multiverses and raptors and things like that in them, but if they do, I'm okay with that. I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff, especially since I'm teaching a superheroes class at the same time, so lots of that going on in that one. What you want to do is you want to learn the format, and I'll be getting that into lessons 2 and 3, and it's a pretty exact format. So we're going to be following this exactly. There are variations. I think I mentioned Top Gun before. The sample script for that is I don't know what that guy was thinking. Okay, but it's going to look. We're going to be writing in a very consistent format for this class, so that as we're doing peer reviews and we're looking at each other's scripts, we know what to expect. That's one of the main things. And then whenever you folks are writing and I'm grading it, I need to know what to expect as well. If you just start throwing random weird formats at me, I'm not going to like it. So that's one reason why I'm teaching you in this class, to teach it, to write it in a very specific way. So here are some rules I want to tell you. And one of them isn't on here. I'm going to tell it to you, and I'm going to revise this so it has it on there. One is no thoughts. We already talked about that big block of prose and that inner monologue and how difficult that is. You don't write thoughts in a script, and it's very hard to get them into a script. It's just something you have to accept, okay? you'll learn how to get around that over time. It takes a little getting used to, because the novels are full of that kind of stuff. No shots. That's the other thing. You may have noticed in the sample up here, there are no shots. You get the details and you get some imagery here, but you don't have anybody saying close up or wide shot. You don't put that in a script. Okay. It doesn't go there. At some point, someone will figure out how they're going to shoot the movie, but that's not your job. The writer doesn't do that. That's something the cinematographer and the director talk about, and then they take your script and write all over it and say, okay, wide shot, master shot, close up, medium close up, dolly shot, etc. They're going to come up with that. That's not your job. Also, no center. No center means no center alignment. So a script, even though it might look like this is aligned right down the center here, it isn't. Okay, it's actually, everything is tabbed over from the left, and I can give you folks the exact numbers you want to use in order to tab that stuff over so that your action happens all the way at the left, and then the names go where they need to go, and the dialogue needs to go where it needs to go. But it's all starts left and all gets tabbed over where your margins get to be set. The best way to do that, though, is to actually use a script writing program, which is what we're going to be covering in the class as we go forward. Okay, the last thing I didn't mention, but it's going to go on here as well, is that everything's always going to be in present tense. Unlike regular prose, where it's almost always in past tense, everything in the script is going to be written in present tense. It's unfolding as you are reading it, and that's an important part of it. As I like to say, if it ain't happening, it ain't happening. So if you write something in past tense, that means you can't see it because it already happened. So in order to make something so you see it, you write it in present tense. Even flashbacks, which may have happened in the past, most of the time they have, that is going to be written in present tense as well. That's just how you do it. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's one of those main things you just have to know going into writing a script. So I'll get into more details on script writing in part 2. So digest this stuff and then we'll move forward.